party in the house. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm excited. This is the I think it's like the third thing I've done since I got back from holidays, so it's all fun.
Yeah, that's all well. I wanted to jump in on this because first things first, you went completely off the grid as well. So where have you been? And how's it's been weird seeing you quiet on social media. So how was that?
It's crazy. Yeah. Well, I've done this for about I'd say at least 3 years now. So every time I go on a proper family holiday, I don't take my phone. And it makes a huge difference. It helps a bit more now. We've got staff in the office. We've got automated emails going out. We've got Facebook ad campaigns going out. So I kind of don't need to be active on social media because obviously, listen, if I have to take my phone on holiday all the time, I haven't really got a business, have I?
You've delegated yourself from your own business. I love it.
Exactly. And to be fair though, I don't have a business that I hate. I have a business that I love. So after 7 days, I'm kind of itching to get back at it anyway. So it's not as though I'm I think a lot of people think I'm kind of hiding and escaping from my business, but that's not the case at all. When I come back, my creativity's through the roof.
Mate, I can't wait for this. So just for a bit of a pre-context, me and Paul just have not spoke. We just literally have hit record and just jumped into this because Paul's quite literally a grenade of energy. So I just want to just completely see where this goes. But Paul, you just mentioned before you've got a business that you love, and there's one of the core reasons. This is such an odd chain of events how it happened because we were literally going to do the reach out the day that we connected on LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but for me, I absolutely love your story, and one of the big things I want to do to really pre-context this show and obviously the business that you've got going now is. For me, I started off in the PT world years ago. I'm talking like 12, 13, 14 years ago or something crazy like that. And Paul was one of the original people I looked up to before I got into all of the things, development, self-development, and going on all these tours all over the world, learning from people. But Paul, you have got one fucking incredible personal story. And I know this is what's brought you to where you are today. And I know it's why you're so driven to what you're doing. But let's just jump in there.
Let's jump into that. Yeah, and do you know, mate? Sometimes we're getting all these. I'm getting all these requests to go and speak at things now, and it's funny. I'm always like, when you got my kind of personality and say it like it is, sometimes you don't get booked for things, but the people that do book you absolutely love what you stand for so much so that I keep getting invited back.
Yeah.
And only reason I get invited back is because I never really preach. I just tell my stories. That's all I do. I've got 100% original content because it's my story. No one can steal this. So I don't worry about competitors, etc., etc. But my story, I mean, listen, how long have we got? I've got quite a varied life.
I'm on your clock, mate.
So let's go from 2014 then. So 2014, I had what many would describe as like the perfect life. I was living in a four-bedroom villa with a private pool in Marbella, 2 beautiful kids. My daughter was born there, my hot wife, etc., etc. Very successful business, supplement company, business coaching company. I didn't really have to work that much. And while I was there, I just kept having these little mini meltdowns, and I got diagnosed bipolar while I was there. And as I'm out there in Marbella, you've got to consider I've got a 2-year-old boy at the time. I've got a newborn baby. There's just me and my wife. I am all over the place. So and in Spain, mate, they don't really treat this bipolar disorder thing. It's not really a thing there.
No.
I got diagnosed privately. I was like, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this was probably in the August time. And then I got sent home. And things just kind of went from bad to worse, really. In December 2014, I ended up on a cliff, which I now live directly opposite, ready to do the old deed, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, definitely one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And since then, we've kind of been on a lot, and you've probably maybe seen the whole thing. That's the thing.
I've been with you for 14 years, mate. My eyes have been glued to you for 14 years. I know more about you than pretty much any guest we've had on here, to be honest.
Yeah, isn't it crazy that? Well, and it's been so, and that's what I love about doing these shows with people that have seen my whole journey. Is that I feel like I don't have to explain so much because you've seen the entire transformation. So since then, I mean, I've done a lot of mad shit since then. I've done a couple of books. I've spoken all over the world. I've done SAS selection training twice, actually. I've run a half. I've lost 5 stone. I mean, I could keep bragging and bragging and bragging, but that's not the point in this. Basically, I've managed to do a complete. I used to say 360. I was like, oh, I've had a 360-degree transformation. Now I'm like, hang on a second. Wouldn't that mean I'm back at the start? Yeah. So now I like to say I've done a 180-degree transformation, and now I don't like to say help. I say I work with married businessmen who need to get the shit together, just like I did. And the reason I don't use the word help, because men hate admitting that they need help. Just try to take it from me. So I say work with, because that's what happens anyway, mate. You'll be the same. We're not really helping people, but we're working with people.
Exactly.
In the whole coaching game. So yeah, and since then, I'm how many guys I've worked with since then. Probably coached about 600 guys maybe. And then I've thousands of people have bought my book, millions of people have watched my videos. So yeah, it's been quite the ride. It's something that I have to still, do you know, Simon, it's still something that I have to stay in control of, because I know that if I stop doing the things that got my shit together, that I could easily end up back where I was. Easily, quickly as well. It's like a guy that gets in shape. If he stops training and stops eating well, guess what? He gets fat again. It's the same thing here.
Straight up.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest things I'd love to speak to you about, and I think this is why obviously yours went way down the line, but
yeah.
One of the things I saw with you is there was so many businesses you were just blowing up off the floor, and they were taking off year after year after year. I can remember watching, I was like, the guy's absolutely crushing it. Yeah. And the amazing thing for me, and that this is what really kind of like, it's why I had to get you on the show, is because you're the living proof of like, you can build and put all your eggs into the basket of business.
Yes.
But what happens when you take your eye off the ball, off all the other areas and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'd love to know from your aspect when it actually came to that position, because this is such a contrastical interview. What was the tipping point that made you go, do you know what? This isn't the day. This isn't the last day. This is the next. This is the next chapter.
I'll tell you the exact words. They're actually in the HQ today because it's the school holidays and we need to have them. Because we just got back from Tenerife last night. I'm going to Dublin this afternoon. Yeah, I'm on a course in Dublin. So we're moving pretty quick. So the kids are in the office today. But the words were this, right? My wife said to me, she said, I'm going to say it quietly because they're out there. She said, think about the kids. And I was like, listen, I am. When you're that low, there's no logic. Logic is completely gone. There's zero logic. You're completely tied up in I don't like using this word, but you're a victim to your emotions. You're blaming everybody else. You're blaming, and it's easy when you get diagnosed with something and you get labelled by somebody else as something. It's easy to say, "Oh, well, I'm bipolar. It's my depression. It's my anxiety. I could talk about that shit all day." Yeah. However, it's easy to blame that, and I thought that. Listen, I thought I was a hindrance. I thought I was in the way. I was a terrible dad. I was awful to be around. They'd be better off without me thing. And then she said, "Listen," and this changed everything for me. It was imagine the kids grown up, spending the rest of their lives, not just that kid years, the rest of their lives as those kids. Oh, that's them whose dad killed himself. That was it. And there was one more moment. I remember this clearly as well. Do you know what's funny, Simon? I don't remember. My memory of these times is really not great. Like, it's not great because I was so all over the place. I was sedated, or I was one of these two things. I was either sedated by meds from the NHS, who did an amazing job, doctors, etc., counsellors, etc., or I was off my tits on cocaine and booze. Yeah, I was either one of those two things. So my memory around those times is hazy as fuck. Yeah. But I remember clearly Christmas Day 2014, the Suicide Watch team are at my house. My wife and kids aren't there. They're at my mother-in-law's because they couldn't be around me. And they said, listen, Paul, if you don't get your shit together, you're going to die. That was it. That was it. It was a moment for me. And those two moments were those that were like, those are pivotal moments for me. And those are ones that I would say were like, and it's a marketing term, but they were like epiphanies for me. Yeah. They were epiphanies for me, and they keep coming back to me. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, from that, like, because that's just, again, the contrast of where you are today and that, it's just incredible how far you've come. But
remember how angry I used to be?
Yeah.
So angry. I was angry with the world. I hated everyone, but inside it was me that was the issue.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'd love to know, though, from this as well, because obviously you mentioned in anger and stuff like that, and that always comes from kind of like a fearful place as well, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
I know that now you're working with a lot of businessmen. I know myself, I would have been your perfect client I think I actually reached out to you at one point. I was like, dude.
I probably ignored you.
But I know I did the same thing where I just went so far on in business, the carpet got ripped on pretty much every other area of my life. And I'd love to know from what we've just spoke about there, how did you then start to rebuild things? And more to the point,
that's a wonderful question. In terms of business, right? In terms of business, I think that, listen, I've been self-employed since I was 21. I'm unemployable. I'm completely unemployable. And I think the thing is with business is that once you know how to build a business, once you know how to market and sell, once you know how to influence people, once you know how to deliver to people, because people keep coming back in my programs year after year after year, right? It's why I've lasted for so long. And I think one of the benefits of that is you can kind of do anything. You don't just have to stick to one area. Once you know how to do that, and once you find something that you love, it's not a problem. But the biggest turnaround for me was probably a couple of things. A couple of things that helped me on this journey was, one, I got in shape, period. I got in shape. And listen, you got to consider I was a personal trainer for 10 years. I was a personal trainer. In fact, it probably wasn't even that long. Personal trainer for a long time, and I let myself get out of shape building businesses, and we see it all the time.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I just hated exercise. I was an old school clean eater. I was in a clean eating gang, and I just hated exercise. And so the first thing that I did, and what changed my life, was actually discovering boxing. And I found the type of exercise that I loved. Now I'm into jiu-jitsu. Now I very rarely weight train. And I think that the biggest tip that I can give a lot of men is just find the type of exercise that you love. Because if you hate it, it's kind of not exactly going to make things better, is it?
No.
And in my experience, if you constantly have to rely on willpower, you're going to fail. It's just a question of when. It's just a question of when. And I've failed so many times that the good news about failing so many times is that eventually you figure it out.
Figure it out. Stumble your way forward, so to speak.
Yeah, what I figured that I love doing is anything that was kind of a combat sport and anything that got me around people. Because listen, you got to consider that I'd isolated myself because I followed the guru's advice of remove all toxic people from your life. I'd cut out all the negative people, and I'd isolated myself so much that I moved to Spain. That's how much I'd isolated myself. I hated people so much. So now I'm just like, I need something that has a sense of community and that is combat based. That's what I love to do. Yeah. So the first thing was I found a way to get in shape and get around people. Get around people even if I can't be bothered, because that changed things for me. And the second thing that I just...
Did you not get your tooth knocked out pretty early into it?
No, I got my teeth knocked out when I was 21.
Okay.
When I was 21, yeah. Yeah, when I was 21. You'll know I'm in the process of having them fixed. And next, the second thing that changed for me is I went to Byron Katie's school for the work for 9 days. I spent 9 days working with Byron Katie and about 300 other middle-aged Eastern European women.
I did not know that. Byron, she's amazing. Yeah. She's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, she's an incredible woman. Yeah, it was amazing. Actually, I just brought a woman that I met there who ended up working. She's now qualified through Byron Katie. She came in and did a training. Because while I'm on holiday, obviously my guys still need training. So I brought a Byron Katie facilitator in to train my guys.
That's amazing.
There's another one. So yeah, I did that, and that kind of got me on the path of, well, actually, if I don't believe everything that I think, everything's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that got me onto the path of figuring more out about feelings and state, and that I'm always in control of how I feel. That led me to, because as well as bipolar, I suffered from horrendous panic attacks. So I ended up going to working with a guy called Charles Linden, who's an amazing anxiety guy. And that just led me down a bunch of other paths. But yeah, for me, it all started with getting in shape and not believing everything that I think.
There's two areas I really want to jump in here with you. I think the biggest thing that I've seen is a lot of the time that the easiest place to start is the last place of which it started to affect you. You see it in business guys, it's usually the health, the fitness. Yeah. And I love how with your story there, it's the same thing again, where you just went in and you took control over.
Do you know what I think we have to make it, and I think now, and this is what I work to talk to my guys about, because my guys lose a ton of weight and I don't even give them training programs.
Yeah.
Like I've got guys that have lost like 8 stone. I don't give them any nutrition advice, and I don't need to give them training advice. I don't have to. They figure it out themselves. I tell them, I say, listen, the best diet's the one that you're going to stick to forever. So usually it'll be some sort of flexible dieting, and the best training program is the one that you're going to fucking do.
Totally.
That has progressive overload at some point. Jiu-jitsu is the same. It never gets easier. It gets harder as you learn more. You realize how much you don't know.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with you though. You found something you love, you could control, but then you made it so it was coherent. I can stick to this and not feel like I failed.
I wouldn't even make it about the weight to start with. For me, there's one thing that's more important than anything, and that's energy. It's more important. That's the most important asset that a man can protect and create. Because when your energy's good, everything's like water off a duck's back.
Yep.
Like, it's unbelievable the difference in your energy, how much a difference in your energy levels can change everything, from your thoughts to your beliefs to your likelihood to take on challenges, to your confidence, even to making sales, to building your business, to dealing with your kids, to having difficult conversations with people. Your energy's like on a totally different planet. For example, I had a little wobble last year, and it was the first one I'd had for a couple of years. I'd been to Dubai for a full-free week. I got back, and I felt like shit. And I was like, I've just had a week in Dubai. It was incredible. We've done a bunch of really cool shit. And then I got home and I felt like shit. And I started this battle with myself. I remember sitting on this floor here crying. I was like, what the fuck's the matter? And she's like, actually, my energy was all over the place and I was sick. And then I took another 3 or 4 days off, just recovering. I wanted to get back in, and I was like, my mind was like, yes, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I was like, I've got this big list of things to do that I want to do, but my body was just like, nah. So for 2 or 3 days, I had a sunbed, I had a sauna, and all I did was walk. 3 or 4 days, I was fine again, and we got after it. But that was just the difference in my energy. But think about this. This is how crazy it is. A day we can wake up, or we can just be feeling low, right? Our energy's low. Our life is exactly the same as it was the day before. Nothing's changed, but we can feel so much different about it just based on our energy. Yep. It's insane. It's insane. Like that time there when I'm sitting on this floor, it was after Halloween, so it was like the start of November. And I even did videos about it and stuff because I like to be real and raw with this stuff. I was sitting there, and I forced myself to do training calls for my guys. And I was like, and a couple of days later, I was like, the only thing that was different was my energy. The only thing that was different about my entire life was my energy, and I was just arguing mentally with the fact that I was sick. There's nothing wrong with being sick. The problem was that I was arguing with the fact that I didn't want to be sick. I didn't have time to be sick. I've got all this to do. I've got all these people relying on me, and that caused all of the conflict. Yeah, my body and mind weren't working with each other very well.
Do you know what? Yeah. I'm so happy we've gone into this topic because it again, going on to that, like, how if you want to be an unstoppable male, it is making sure all the balls of life are moving forwards. And obviously, if you've not got that energy there, it affects everything, doesn't it? Business, relationships, sex drive, mental health, emotional health.
It does, and I say this all the time. There is nothing more important than how you feel. Nothing more important than how you feel. And the thing is, we can change it quickly. A lot of people don't understand that. It's okay to feel like shit. I shouldn't even say like shit. It's okay to feel tired. It's okay to feel low. But we don't just have to stay there and accept it.
Yeah. I think that's what so many of us do, though, don't we? We you've got to remember, I think the big thing is when we just go through life, and especially in the business and the corporate world, these guys get into that habit and that pattern of doing it for the same day, and it just becomes their new baseline, doesn't it? And they don't. I was going to say, and then they don't know that there's more. They don't know that they can do more and that life can be better. It's just like, no, that's where I am.
And I think one of the traps that we fall into, Simon, is that we think that we have energy. Like, I have energy. I don't have any energy. But then I don't even know who said this, and maybe Robbins was like, you don't have energy, you create energy. Actually, I think it was Brendan Burchard said it. I think it was him. I quite like his stuff. And he was saying, you don't have energy, you create it. It's like a power plant. A power plant doesn't have energy, it generates it. So it's the same thing. That's why I have that little bouncy thing. That's why we play table tennis in the office every hour. Probably more than that, but Leslie's sitting in there, so I'm gonna say, yeah, she's still here.
Yeah.
That's why we play table tennis every day. Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Create more energy whenever we're feeling lethargic, and I think it's just you get into this thing as well of like. It's too easy to reach for a coffee or caffeine or whatever your drug of choice is.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do that. So yeah, energy's a huge thing.
I fully agree with you on that. I think when I've not guarded my energy, it's been the start of a slippery slope.
I think the problem is with it, Simon, it just sounds too simple. People think it's complicated. It's not.
exactly.
Not complicated.
I'd love to know as well, like, obviously from yourself, because we were mentioning before about like the anxiety and stuff along the lines of that. Did you? Because I also suffer with anxiety. And I noticed when I crushed my energy, the anxiety start to kind of like meerkat and rear its head a little again. Like
my anxiety. I can't believe I've just said that. It's terrible language. So the anxiety that often shows up for me, I don't really get like generalized daily anxiety. The anxiety that I create is usually created in a situation like it used to pop up in jiu-jitsu a lot. Like we'll pop in jiu-jitsu a lot because it's very claustrophobic. Or it used to be until I figured a better way to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But then it would show up on flights a lot. I'd create it on flights. I've had several panic attacks on flights. One where I actually had to get sedated by the crew.
You joking?
Yesterday. Yeah, oh, dude, yeah. When I spoke at IFS in Barcelona last year, I had one on the way back.
Yeah.
I created one on the way back. And I figured a lot of stuff out with anxiety. For me, the anxiety that I create is just actually about where my attention is.
Yeah.
Where my attention is. So yesterday, do you want to know how I solved my anxiety issues?
How?
On a flight. I don't create what I call generalized anxiety. I create anxiety when I'm on, and this used to be flights, trains, public toilets, lifts, a bunch of different scenarios. Jiu-jitsu, I get a lot of these panic attacks. I keep saying get. I create a lot of panic attacks.
Yeah.
It got so bad at one point that I was sedated on a flight to Chicago for my friend. I was actually going to New York for my friend's wedding. I was halfway into an 8-hour flight to Chicago, and I had a complete and utter meltdown that I had to ring my doctor, they had to sedate me, they had to do all sorts of crazy shit. I was that sedated when I got off the flight that I was 2 hours early for a connecting flight to New York, to a place called Syracuse. 2 hours early in the gate, and I missed it.
Oh.
I was so fucked up. On pills. Yeah. So, and then last year on the way back, I got a handle on it. And then last year on the way back from speaking at IFS in Barcelona, I had the first panic attack I'd had for a few years. And that was down to a bunch of things. Drinking coffee all day was one. If you create anxiety and you suffer from anxiety and you drink coffee, I'm going to say this very bluntly, you're a fucking idiot. It's like pouring petrol on a fire. It's going to blow up, right? So that's that. And there was a bunch of different things happened. But what I realized from my work with Charles Linden, from a bunch of other stuff that I read, and just from trial and tested, because for years I had to take diazepam, 2 diazepam every flight. 2 diazepam. I used to have to take 2 spare ones just in case and get off my lips. And then I realized that actually I'm only anxious, or I only create anxiety when my attention, i.e. my thoughts and my focus, are on the things that create anxious feelings for me.
Yeah.
So that is, on a flight, I'd be focused on the fact that I was stuck on there for however long. If I'm not focused on that, I don't get anxious. What? That sounds insane, right? But you've got to understand that somebody like me who has a high creative intellect, that if I'm not solving problems, I'm going to invent them. I'm going to make them up. Because all anxiety, right, is usually somebody confusing discomfort with danger. Discomfort and danger. And that I'm essentially inventing a problem that doesn't exist. How do I know the problem doesn't exist? There's fucking 200 other people on the flight who aren't having a panic attack.
Yeah.
That's how I know that I'm making up problems. So here's how I solved it. Football Manager. This is a true fucking story.
I'm excited for this.
Here's what I have. On my iPad, I have Football Manager. As soon as I get on a flight, I put it on. I play Football Manager, and I don't get anxious. Why? Because my focus is on Football Manager.
It's amazing to hear that, like literally how you've kind of like reverse engineered it to a point. So Good.
Yeah. However, so what I also have though, and this is because a lot of people get anxious before the thing.
Yeah.
So they get anxious before the thing. So what I noticed that if I start to get anxious before the thing, I'm going to tell you something that I haven't told anybody yet. On last Tuesday and Wednesday, on Tuesday I sat outside my doctor's wanting to go in and get a diazepam.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, fuck, I've got a flight. And then today I'm flying to Dublin. So like, fuck, I've got to get to Tenerife. Tenerife's a fairly long flight. It's like 4.5 hours, right?
Yeah.
4.5 hours. I'm thinking, fuck, that's a long fucking flight. And I sat outside and I didn't get it. My wife was like, you don't fucking need it. What's the matter with you? Now, what I've got to think is if I'm thinking about the flight, I'm not present. I'm in the future. So I've got two options. One, come back to now and put my attention on what I'm currently doing. When I was busy, right? So I was so busy before I went as well. When I was busy, I wasn't thinking about the flight. So I wasn't anxious.
Yeah.
So the other thing I do is if I'm in the future, right? So if I'm mentally in the future, at least I need to be doing something about it. Now, what I mean by this is that I just loaded my iPad up with loads of things off Netflix. So I downloaded loads of things off Netflix, loads of things off Amazon, loads of things off Sky Go, movies, TV shows. By the way, I mentioned for a TV show, I watched this thing called The Stranger. Holy shit. Dude, you got to get on the show.
That's tonight sorted then.
Dude, yeah, it's amazing, honestly. And then I've got a book, I've got magazines, I've got all sorts of shit to do on the flight.
Yeah.
That's my attention is on so if I'm in the future before the flight, I'm planning. So it's like if you're nervous and you're anxious about an upcoming speaking gig, you either have to get present.
That used to cripple me, that.
Yeah. Or guess what? Another way you could do is if you're going to be in the future, at least prepare for it. At least be doing something to get better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's the if I'm in if I'm anxious about something that's coming up, I'm not here. Yeah. I'm in the future and it doesn't exist. Of course you're gonna get anxious. You're somewhere that isn't there. Of course you're gonna get fucking anxious, right? The other analogy that I've got for you is boxing. Like thinking about getting punched in the nose is way worse than getting punched in the nose. Trust me. Trust me on this. I corner a lot of guys for that first white collar match, right? You know, the charity boxing.
Yeah.
And the end of the first round, they start panicking. I'm like, bro, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a bust nose. And then I wipe the nose and I'm like, look, your nose is already bust. You're fine. So it's a funny old thing. So yesterday, though, I had a little wobble. Another little wobble because I'm human. And I'm on the flight back from Tenerife and I've been playing Football Manager for 3 hours.
I can just visualize you just sat there.
Guess what? Check this out. I got promoted as Sunderland. I got relegated again and I got sacked. Sacked. And then guess what happened? This is why I wobbled. My iPad died.
Oh, no way.
Fuck. And honestly, have you seen these Whoop bands yet? These recovery bands?
Yeah.
Dude, I checked my heart rate on it last night. My heart rate was through the roof on this flight. So I started just creating this problem. I'm shivering. My wife's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no. My body started reacting to my thoughts just because my iPad died. So I'm walking up and down the aisle because one of the things that you got to do when you're anxious, you got to change your state. So I'm walking up and down. You know what I'm doing? I'm looking to see if anybody's got one of those, the chargers that you take with you.
Yeah.
No one's got one because you're not allowed them on flights, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I asked the crew. I said, do you sell those charger packs? They're like, no. And I'm like, fuck. And I start losing my shit. So do you know what I do? I asked the cabin crew. I stole the newspaper off them. And I just read the newspaper. Then it died down a little bit. And then my son had bought Lego in the airport. Then we built some Lego. And then I wrote down what I had to do this week. So I did a bit of planning for the week. And again, all I did was I shifted my attention. And I would call it diverted my attention from the fact that I'm stuck on a flight, my iPad's dead. Fuck, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I just changed my attention to something else. That takes practice. But it's like, trust the process. One thing I do know is my iPad is fully charged for a day's flight.
I was going to say, have you got invested in one of those battery packs as well?
I
12 days, solar powered.
Yeah, so I've got a button. The flight's only an hour long, so I'm good. Yeah, but that is as simple as I can make anxiety because there's a couple of scenes that I've got with this. Where attention goes, energy flows.
Oh,
and results. So if my attention is going in one direction, I'm going to get the energy that goes with that. Tony Robbins says what you focus on grows.
Yep.
So if I'm focused on the things that make me anxious, guess what's going to happen? It's going to grow. That's dude, and this is just training, by the way. The style of meditation that I do is for this exact thing. So
I love that analogy because you do, don't you? When the thought process goes to fear, then that's where the body's going to respond, isn't it? It's going to be like, look, we're going to have to run now.
Yeah, if I focus on shit, I get shit.
Yeah.
And everybody's heard this. If you think of a lemon, your mouth starts watering. Doesn't it? You start salivating when you think of cutting a lemon, a cold, juicy lemon. You squeeze it on your tongue. And I've said this, told that story a million times. And it still happens now. It's your body's reaction to a stressful thought. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy how that works. And it's honestly, that whole thing has completely changed my life. Completely changed my life. And here's another story. The other week, you may have saw this. I had big surgery on my mouth, right? So I've had a palate in my front two teeth, been on a palate since I was probably about 24, so 16 years. And last year, my teeth fell out in a Michelin star restaurant, right? In front of the chef. And I was like, it got to the point where I was no longer willing to tolerate that shit anymore. And I'd wanted the implants done for a few years now. And I just thought, fuck, I hate the dentist. It's a nightmare. I used to have to get sedated for a filling, right? No shit.
Yeah.
Used to have to get sedated for a filling. A couple of years ago, I got a tooth extraction without sedation. I was like, right, I've kind of clocked this thing. And then I get to about this implant. It's very expensive. It's $2,300 a tooth, and I needed two. Not only that, I went for the checkup, and they're like, Paul, you need a bone graft because you haven't got enough bone to screw the teeth in. Okay, and Paul, you also need plastic surgery on your lip. Because you know the bit of skin that connects your gum to your lip?
Yeah.
Mine was too big, so that had to cut it off. Right?
Oh, you just what?
I've got one there, but it's tiny now. Mine was big and low, so they needed to move it. So I had to have a bone graft, plastic surgery on my mouth, and then I had to slice my mouth open and put in, do you know, like wall plugs?
Yeah.
I had to put wall plugs in, like kind of like wall plugs in my mouth with a fucking torque wrench, right? And then I've got to wait 3 months for the gum to heal to put the teeth in. And the reason I'm telling you this is because that's big surgery.
Yeah.
Big surgery.
That's massive.
And all three of those, yeah, huge surgery. And in the past, I'd have been, I need to get knocked out for that. Problem is, we're getting knocked out, you feel like shit for ages after.
Oh,
ages.
yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have time. So here's how I get over it, right? And the first time I got over it, I said, listen, just so you know, when I come to the dentist, I get really excited to be here. Basically, that's code for I get anxious as fuck, right?
Yeah.
I get excited. I get so excited that I start sweating and talk really loud. So I said, what I need you to do is for me to get through this, I need you to talk to me the whole time. We got it done. And it was an hour and a half surgery, and I got it done just getting numbed, and I got it done in an hour and a half. Because my attention cannot be on all of this shit and the dentist's voice at the same time. Can't be. I can't think about two things at once. It's impossible, right? So, and anyway, what I did on this one, though, someone said to me on Instagram, said, Paul, what were you thinking when you went in the room? Like, when you went in that dentist surgery, what were you thinking? And I said, all I was thinking about was whether I was going to watch Netflix, because he has Netflix on his TV, or whether I was going to listen to a podcast. That's all I was thinking about. What am I going to listen to on the podcast? Well, I wonder what I'm going to watch on Netflix. I actually ended up doing neither of those things and just listening to the guy telling me what was going on. Like, and that's it. Done. Dusted. That's my, and you think about that, that's the same thing. I can't be here and here. I can't be with him and here at the same time.
So it literally is misplacing the thought, isn't it? It's like, look, I'm focused on the wrong thing.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. I was still uncomfortable as fuck. Like, my wife said, she didn't tell me at the time, but she said, I could see your fucking bone.
Oh.
Like, I could see your actual jawbone. And there was blood all over the fucking place. Yeah, so it was, but yeah, it was a fun experience, but it's why, think about this. I don't personally like guided meditation, but it's a great place to start, right?
Yeah.
And do you know why it's a great place to start? Because you can't be thinking thoughts and focused on that headspace thing. Right?
He's a Scottish guy, isn't he? Or is he a Geordie?
Andy. His name's Andy.
Yeah,
so I can't focus on Andy's voice and what I've got to do today at the same time. I've got to choose. Yeah. Cool, eh? That's it. That's anxiety in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, the reason I really want to touch up on that point is it's the amount of men, actually, the amount of people that keep coming to us, especially through these shows. It just seems to be such a growing topic now where people are more open to speak about it, and the panic attack side.
Yeah, and it's only people with a creative intellect that create anxiety.
Yeah,
because they're creating problems that aren't there. Not everybody gets anxious. Not everybody creates anxiety, but most of the people that create anxiety are creative and have high creative intellect.
What I'd love to know is, I remember years ago, I'm not quite sure if this stems into the anxiety theme or something along the lines of that, but you mentioned before that you did the SAS training. Is that the one where you flew over to the States for it?
No, that was Wake Up Warrior.
Was that Wake Up Warrior?
Wake Up Warrior. I did Wake Up Warrior in the States. The SAS one was with the guys Foxy and Ollie off SAS Who Dares Wins.
Ah, right.
I learned a lot about myself on that, because physically it was hard, but what I figured out a lot of the times, your body will just keep fucking going.
Yeah.
And guess what? If you're able to take your mind, funnily enough, somewhere else, because I can't be focused on, do you want to know how I got through this? And this is the same way I got through a half marathon with no training. I was thinking about what I was going to eat when I finished. No shit. I can't think about what I'm going to eat and the pain in my legs at the same time. But this was difficult. This was a big challenge for me, because physically it was hard, but I could handle it. Like I got myself into decent shape through the boxing, through the other training, etc., etc. But one thing that they did was put the black bag over your head and black goggles over your eyes and tie you up, and then put babies crying in your ear for like 2 hours. That was terrifying. But yeah, that was harsh, because you're physically fucked after 2 days of hard training and no sleep. It's difficult to detach from the fact that you've actually paid to be there and you can quit at any time.
So,
you know what I mean? It feels
was
so
the whole
real.
intention for that was just to take you to breaking point? How far to breaking point can we?
It's called break point. Yeah, it's called break point.
So,
and you can step out at any time.
What was the point? Was there a single point where it's like, I'm done? Because what I want to just kind of touch upon this is
I'll tell you exactly when it was in a sec.
I remember watching you when you went and did the Garrett thing.
Yeah.
And for me, was this a point, because I think, was it a similar exercise or something like that?
Yes.
At this point, was it like, do you know what? So
yeah.
You learned.
So I'll tell that story first. So
okay.
What happened was, I went to Wake Forest. I'd been in there for 18 months, and it was a great experience. It opened up a lot of stuff for me, and that was actually what started making me stop being so full of shit. And what's called Wake Up Warrior woke me up to that actually I'd created this whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
I had to stop blaming people, stop lying, take responsibility. But then after 18 months, I'd been in there, and I flew to California for one of the meetups, and they said there was going to be some boxing, so I trained for this boxing thing. Anyway, I got there was no boxing, and they put on this Navy SEALs training with the guy from SEAL Fit.
Oh yeah.
And we're getting beasted, and I was a bit pissed off that we're doing it for a start. And about an hour in, we're doing burpees, we're getting fucking freezing cold water squirting in my face, and I keep laughing, so everybody else keeps getting punished.
Oh,
I find the whole thing hilarious, and people are screaming in my face, get me to do burpees, and I'm like, bro. And I'm at that phase in my life where I'm mocking things that I don't quite understand. Everybody does this. We mock things. I mean, listen, dude, I'd say half the things that I do now, 2 years ago, I'd have mocked them. Hot yoga. I do hot yoga twice a week. Jiu-jitsu, rolling around in your pajamas. Wouldn't have been doing it 2 years ago. Journaling. Would never have been journaling. Even meditation. But I'd mock it because I didn't understand it. Dude, here's the thing. I also have these like green crystals in front of me right now. Loads of different types of green crystals. No shit. Look at this one. Look at this cool thing. Can you see that? How cool is that? It's cool, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? And then I've got these green skulls that you see on Instagram. I've got all this cool shit in front of me. Anyway, so about an hour and a half in, they're like, right, Mort, get in the ice bath. So I get in this ice bath. It's fucking freezing. At that point, I didn't know who Wim Hof was. I do all that shit now as well, by the way, cold showers. And the second time around, I get in here, and I'm like, and you have to breathe through like, imagine a water bottle with the bottom cut off. So you have to get under and breathe through this water bottle. I'm like, bro, I'm not doing that. Like, you're doing it, Mort. I'm fucking not doing it, mate. You do it. I was like, you're not exactly going to make me, are you? And then I just started being a dick, and I said, bro, you can go and fuck yourself. And I stormed off. And the funny thing is now, I would actually love that. I would love that training now. So I suppose at that point in my life, one thing I realized, and my friend Mark Whitehand told me, he said, Paul, you just chose not to suffer anymore. You hated it.
Yeah.
So why? He said, and the next day, I was really beating myself up about it. I'm like, what a fucking pussy. I've just quit on that. Call myself an unstoppable guy. I'm a pussy. I've quit, etc., etc. And then one guy who I coach now, actually, who's in my program now, came up to me, and he's got fucking black eyes and scratches all over his face. He said, Paul, you know, I've got a lot of respect for you because you're the only guy that said, go fuck yourself. He said, you saw it as quitting. I saw it as standing up for yourself and telling them to fuck off. Because, dude, 8 hours later, they were all still doing the fucking exercise. 8 hours later, lying in the, do you know the one where your arms are tied? They were doing that in the sea.
It's like it's the one where you're doing the sit-ups, like literally just head under the water, go again. Head under the water, go. Wow.
Yes. I would still struggle with that now, actually. I would still struggle a little bit. But now, that was a big wake-up call for me as well. It changed my life. That was like, actually, I don't have to suffer. Now, sometimes I'll be like, that, if I went back there now, that'll be no problem whatsoever. Because the next SAS training that I did was, the point that I wanted to quit there was physically it was hard. At that point, I'd learned about my body. Actually, I could just keep fucking going. I love this. Bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. Like right in your face shouting at you. And I'm like, dude, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. And then we get captured, right? Because it's all a game. You get captured, these guns and fireworks and shit. It's so good, right? The first time, I'm like, fuck, I can't. You're tossed into the back of a fucking transit. Really violent. Stressing me, by the way. Then eventually, the kind of fake, they put on like a mock, you get saved, basically, by Ollie. From these, like, all these guys are like dressed up as terrorists, right? Ollie saves you. And then an hour later, you think, so I'm like, fucking hell, I'm emotional. I'm having an adrenaline dump because I've got through this thing. I'm really emotional. And then an hour later, when you've let your guard down, they fucking take you again. Oh. That's when I was like, fuck, I can't fucking do this. And then, well, like get to the evac point. You've got to get to this. They've got like a fake helicopter thing. You've got to get to the evac point. It's the end of the course. And then Ollie's congratulating everybody on completing the course. He's about to give out some certificates and can capture you again. Yeah, dude, those 2 points I was,
What kept you going? What was the thing that kept you going? Because obviously you didn't do the rebellious, closed up, I'm out. Yeah. It was do you know what? I'm going to see this through.
Great question. That's a great question. I'll tell you what kept me going. Right at the start of this thing, I usually omit this. Right at the start of this thing, we get collected from where the cars are by like this little female, definitely either current army or ex-army, just fucking him up. Who the fuck's parked that car like that? And it was me. Sort that out. And I'm like, holy shit. Whew, this is real. And I'm still a joker at this point. And she's like, get in the back of that fucking van. I'm going to put it into the back of this van. And it's like an army one with like, do you know, like a tarpaulin and it's dark as fuck? Yeah. Get the hood on your head. Get the hood on your fucking head. So everybody's in the back of this truck and it's like this. This is the start of the course, dude. And I put the hood on and I start hyperventilating. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And the woman said to us, she said, you're going to fucking quit? You haven't even started and you're going to quit. She said this to me. She said,
sweat dripping off your hands.
Dude, I can't breathe. I'm like, every time I put the bag and it goes past you, I'm like, I can't breathe. She's like, you can breathe. It's just material. She said to me, she said, just think about it as being on a bus where there's no windows. That was it. That was like, that just switched something. She said, just think about it. And she almost turned me on to this. It's where your thoughts are. She said, just think about it as you were on a bus with no windows. And that was kind of a shift for me in terms of where my mind was. So what kept me going, I'm going to be honest with you, thinking about what I was going to eat when I finished. That I'm not going to give you anything that's like, oh, well, I was thinking about my kids and I can't give up on my kids. And if I quit here, who knows? I was thinking about eating a KFC when I finished.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like when I actually stop and think about it, like anyone who's an athlete, business person, who is a very visual person, they always focus on it's either the feeling or the event directly after. Yeah. It's like, this is only going to be temporary. I can suffer for so long, and then I've got this at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, honestly, that was it. And by that point in my life, and obviously I had a lot of accountability. The guys that were kind of looked up to me and relied on me, and I was their coach, and I had to lead by example. There was a little bit of that. In fact, here's another story for you. In 2018, I did the original SAS selection route, right? Which is called Penny Fan.
I remember this.
Yeah, it's a 25-kilometer fucking yomp across a mountain with 35 pounds on your back. Yep. It's not fucking easy. Within the first 10 minutes, I was ready to quit. Because you go, there's no warm-up, you just go straight into this. I was puking after like 6 minutes. It was so fucking like that, right? The only reason I didn't quit was because one of the guys who was in my program at the time was on the same program. It's the only reason I didn't quit. I would have quit because, listen, I'm not going to lie and say I'm this fucking superhero character. I'm like, sometimes I want to fucking quit. I would have quit if he wasn't there. So this is why accountability is also so fucking good. Yeah. Now I'm actually we're going to do it again as a team in July, I think.
I think something I love about like your story and just how it relates to all these things is like, you didn't quit at the pivotal moment of the biggest choice of your life and how it's kind of like crossed itself into everything. It's just like, nah.
You could say that I did quit because I didn't go through with it. Depends how you want to frame it, right? Yeah. People say to me, a question that I often get asked on interviews like this is, what would have happened if your wife wasn't there? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Would I've had the balls to do it? And if I'm brutally honest, I probably wouldn't have had the balls to do it. Probably wouldn't have. It's a bit of a morbid subject, but
she was there for a reason.
and do you know, mate? Do you know? Somebody asked, like, why was your wife there? This is how bad I was. This is how fucked up I was at the time. Every time I'd leave the house, my wife would pretty much follow me because she wasn't sure of what I was going to do. I was so unpredictable and so volatile that she was terrified of what I was going to do, so she'd just follow me.
Completely. I'd love to know off this, completely off the topic. Has this made the relationship with you both absolutely fused?
100%. 100%. I mean, listen, I've pretty much been with her my entire adult life since I met her when I was 16.
Yeah.
I'm 40 this year. That's 24 years. Yeah. We had maybe about 8 months apart in that time. Yeah. But that's a long time to get to know someone. She's probably the only woman in the world that could live with me. My mum couldn't even handle it.
Would you say there was a big turning point within the relationship with you two? Was there a point when you just, do you know what I mean?
Huge turning point because I had to start being honest then. I wouldn't want to put her through that again. Like that's and she wrote, actually, in my first book, we're about to put it on Amazon because it's never, even though we've done like 10,000 copies, it's never been on Amazon, which people think's crazy, right? What we've done is we've actually added in, she's wrote like an afterword, and there were things in there that I didn't know. Like she was like, it made her feel like a shit. She must be a shit wife if I feel like the way that I do. And I didn't understand that. I'm feeling emotional talking about this now. She wrote things in this afterword that I didn't think were a thing because you're so caught up in your own shit that you don't realize how much your behavior affects other people. She was like, I must be a shit wife. I must be a shit mom if Paul feels like this. It's my fault, which is crazy because I'm at no point did I think that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that definitely transformed the relationship.
The reason that I really wanted to ask that, and I appreciate how honest you've been with this sort of stuff, is again back to that term honesty. I think that's the biggest thing, especially with men. And I know, given the realm where you coach and given my experience, being a guy who was once in probably the most closed off industry known to man with a huge ego, sometimes actually just being completely honest is usually the biggest thing that sets you free to a point.
Yeah, do you know, Simon, I don't even know any other way now.
Yeah.
The fact, what I've realised that back then, I'd want love and affection, and I didn't know how else to get it other than to fucking act up. Like, that was my identity then. I didn't know how else to get it. Now I'm like, the fastest way to get something is to ask. Just fucking ask for what you need. Just ask for what you need. Drop your ego, ask for what you need. And I think a lot of people actually don't want, like when we look at this, right? And I talked about it in my new book. I say book, but it's just a fucking audio book, right? And I talk about in there, a lot of people don't, when we say, dude, I've given you the same tools as I've given him, a lot of men don't want to get better and recover from anxiety or depression. And here's why. They will lose attention. They will lose the sympathy that they get, and they don't know how else to act. It becomes part of their identity. They don't know what else to do if they fix themselves. I mean, they're not broken. No. But they just get so attached to this victim mentality that if they get better, they'll suddenly lose all the attention that they get. That was one of my issues. It's like, oh, I'm bipolar this, I'm bipolar that. I'm like, fucking hell, use it as an excuse. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think this seems to be a big correlation with every guest we've had on the show who's undergone like a huge transformation. That's always been the biggest takeaway so far that I've just noted on all the correlations. Is it genuinely is that letting go of an old version of yourself to be okay in the unknown and then start to rebuild the next bit. And sometimes it does just take a leap off a cliff. Yeah. Pardon the...
Yeah. And like I say, that listen, the worst thing that's going to happen is you feel a little bit fucking silly.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I'm like, what's the worst case scenario? The very worst case scenario is that you feel a little bit silly, and most people already feel a little bit silly, so you may as well fucking go for it.
Yeah. I'd love to get from you on this because you mentioned something before about being really, really closed, especially when it came to like opening yourself up to all this stuff that's genuinely now a big part of your life.
Yeah.
I was exactly the same. And literally I've probably gone exactly down the same route as you, where it's now become a big non-negotiable.
Yes.
What was the thing that kind of allowed you to open up? Was it just when you actually started trying these things?
I'll tell you, I became willing to be wrong.
Oh, mate, I love that.
I became willing to be wrong. And that was, I would say, through my work with the Byron Katie stuff. I became willing to be wrong. And that was through, she talks about shoulds and shouldn'ts quite a lot, or should and should not.
Stop
and then when I started
shooting
realizing
yourself. Is that Byron Katie? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I started just being willing to be wrong. I will give it a fucking go. I do a lot of shit that I would never. The whole breathing exercises every morning, the hot yoga, the meditation, the fucking acupressure mats, the green crystals, the BJJ, the journaling. So many things that I do now. In the past, I would have mocked them because I didn't understand them.
Yeah. Paul,
that's why I'm okay with people mocking me now. I'm like, dude, you can mock me, but you won't fucking stop me.
Yeah, okay.
And I get why you're mocking me. I'd rather you mock me than somebody that can't take it.
I think as well, when you're so confident, you just don't hear it anymore, do you? It's just like water off a duck's back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, out of all of those things, which has been the big transformation for you, what's the one thing that's come in on a day-to-day which is like your non-negotiable? This happens. Is there just one core thing which has really grounded you? Or
probably a combination of. And do you know what? The first thing that I do every morning is get my journal and the pen, because the other things require a little bit of effort, right? Hot yoga, I've got to book in months in advance because it's hard as fuck to get in. Jiu-jitsu requires some effort. I'm not saying willpower requires some effort. Cold shower, some effort. Even breathing requires some effort. But if you can't be bothered to pick up a pen and paper, you deserve to feel like shit. So I'm going minimal required effort first.
Yeah.
And I'm putting attention on my intentions. I'm writing down how I want to feel for the day. I'm getting clear on my priorities. I'm getting clear on who I'm going to impact that day, on how I want to feel, on how I'm going to create that feeling, on who I'm going to follow up with, on who I need to reach out to, etc., etc. I'm just getting clear on all of that. What my number one priority for the day is, what my message to myself would be, who I am. I write down as well. And if I can't be bothered to do that, then I deserve to feel like shit, essentially.
It's the smallest investment, isn't it? The small investment in self.
No money.
What? Yeah. £1.20?
Yeah. And this is like, someone said to me the other day, your words are your wand, right? I did an interview with a lady called Melanie, and she said your words are your wand. I mean, actually, I quite agree with that, because it's just a pen and fucking paper. And that can change so much, particularly when it comes to when you're struggling a little bit, because you can turn a problem here, right? You've got to think everything in your head's a fucking drama show, right? Total drama show in here. As soon as I get it on paper, it becomes a puzzle that I can solve, and it strips away the intensity of all of this. This is intense. This has got a lot of drama attached to it. As soon as I get it on paper, I'm like, is that it? Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like it just strips it. Pen and paper strips away all the bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you can't afford a pen, you can just go to your nearest Argos and take one off the counter.
Do it on your fucking phone. You can do it on your phone or from the bookies. Yeah, do you even say bookies where you're from, or is that a northeast thing?
No, they say bookies. Yeah, bookies. It's been that long though since I've been in England. I don't even know. I don't even know if they all gone digital now. Or
I'm not even sure anybody goes to the bookies anymore. That's why there's so many gambling problems, because it's too easy to spend your money. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, yeah, but you can put it in your phone. But I believe that a lot of my guys are like, Paul, can I do it in an app? I'm like, you can, but I think deep work has to be on a phone. Yeah. Has to be on a phone. Yeah.
100%.
Sweet.
Paul, you wrote a book called The 82 Rules for an Unstoppable Life. Now, within that book, would you say there's 1, 2, or 3 of those rules which are either your favorite or the must-dos, or like the 10 Commandments? Which are the ones
dude, I've created what I would call, we actually call it the world's most expensive planner, because you can't buy it anywhere else unless you join my program. So people are like, Paul, how do I get a planner? I'm like, you join my most expensive program. That's how you get it. Yeah. So we also have the world's most expensive caps as well. Paul, can I get a cap? Yeah, join my program. So anyway, the one thing that I'd probably put in there would be these 3 questions. The 3 questions that I want to ask yourself. And the first question is, how do I want to feel today? If I could choose one word to describe how I want to feel today, because you're able to create any feeling that you want, if you know how. And the second part of that is the reason I want to create that feeling is, so adding in some leverage. And the third piece of that is the thing that I'm willing to do to feel like that is. So those 3 things. Those are the first 3 questions I ask myself every morning. how do I want to feel today? Why do I want to feel like that? Or who needs me to show up feeling like that? And 3 is the one thing I'm willing to do to feel like that is.
That's awesome. I absolutely love that. That's such a
It's
simple
a-
way of rewiring it as well. Do
Putting
you?
your attention on your intention and then creating a strategy to feel how you want to feel. A lot of people don't think that's possible.
No, Paul, I absolutely love that. I was going to say, is the next part of that to try and close that gap as quick as possible? So as soon as you've got it out into your head, you know, it's like, no, how fast can you act on that?
Yeah, it depends on what you need. Like sometimes I'm just like, I want to feel clear. What am I willing to do to feel clear? Willing to get all my shit down on paper. If I want to feel energized, what am I willing to do? Well, I'm willing to jump in a cold shower. Simple. I'm willing to walk to the office. I'm willing to go and do jiu-jitsu. If I want to feel, what's another feeling that I want to create? If I want to feel focused, what am I willing to do? Not put my phone on until 10 a.m.
So that's a good one as well for anxiety. Because like most people just wake up, look at the phone, and it's like, oh crap, how many fires I've got to put out.
One thing that I want to add in, we've talked about focus. What you focus on grows, where attention grows, energy flows. What was the other one? You get what you're focused on.
Yep.
What we've got to consider is this, and this is an insight that I got from Robbins, I think, which was focus is controlled by questions.
Yep.
So if you ask the right question, that dictates where your focus goes.
Paul, where can everyone find you who's listening to the show?
paulmort.uk.
Awesome. Do you want to round up on something?
paulmort.uk. Do I want to round up on something? Yes. Keep kicking the day in the dick.
And that's Paul Mort.
Have a great day.
Top man, you too, brother. Bye-bye.